In this video, I'll walk you through the first part of the grading rubric for section 2 of the case, and basically what we're trying to do here is to come up with some cost allocation scheme to allocate these customer costs back to the customer level. And let me just kind of give you an overall. I know it's easy to get lost in the details here, but a reminder of why it is we're doing this. So I know I can't fit all this on the screen, but most of it will be here. So anyways, this is what you've created for me in the first section of the case, and it shows our profit, our total profit, and incrementally how much each customer adds to that. But my contention is that this is inaccurate, and through the second part of the case, I'm telling you that there are all sorts of costs that should really lower this profit level, and we don't know then which customers are profitable and not. So I think this is an inaccurate rendering of the profitability of the customer. So what we're going to do in this section of the case is really take this and redo it for what I think the new profitability levels should be. And so to do that, you're going to be taking, I've given you access to these Excel files, and they're meant to show you that we have an extra $3.4 million of what we would call period costs, non-product costs, that we could somehow reasonably allocate back to the customers and their customer-related costs. And $3.4 million is significant. And it's not only these costs we're going to allocate back, it's also these distribution costs, so another 3.5, so almost $7 million that we're going to add back and reduce the customer profitability. You can see we're talking about $10 million in total customer profit. That means when you take away 6 or 7 million, you're talking way down here. So significantly different in terms of how profitable we think the customers are. So that's the goal, right? Is to take this and redo it. And to do that, we follow this activity-based approach to determine how do we take these costs and allocate them to each specific customer or to each sales channel. And we worked through this in one of the earlier chapters we went through. And so the first part of the grading rubric says, and I'm trying to walk you through in a logical step here, a progression here, saying, well, the first thing we would do is figure out, if we're going to allocate all these costs, this $3.5 million and the other $3 million, there's got to be some way we can allocate it. And using activity, we got to determine what activity drives these costs. And that's the goal, or that's the reason for this customer activity matrix, was to give you some indication as to, when that we had the accountant in the case sit down and determine what drives these costs, and we came up with these, what are there, 6 of them here, different categories or cost drivers, activity areas that drive these specific costs. And so the cost driver might be the number of orders taken, the number of visits that the salespeople make to the customers, and the number of marketing campaigns made, so on and so forth. And so we're going to use these drivers and create what we would call cost pools based off of this $3.5 million and the other $3 million. We're going to create different pools based off of the activity area. So the number of orders taken, we're saying, well, there's a cost pool that can be created there of these costs. And you'll see this is distribution-related costs. Distribution-related costs are the cost to get our product physically to the customer. So shipping costs and having actual distribution warehouses, paying the rent and paying the people to move the packages. So that really has nothing to do with taking orders. So your cost pool for this activity would be, warehouse packages shipped, right? So this entire $3.5 million would be all of your packages shipped. So if we're looking at like orders taken, we would need to go to the other sheet, and you'll see here that there are a whole list of costs. You need to identify which costs go with which activity. So I'm looking at order taking costs. Well, who takes the orders, right? Well, probably customer service people, right? Our customers call in and they place their order with the customer service people. So these 3 costs would most likely make up that cost pool. So you have roughly $400,000 of customer-related costs for orders taken, and we need to then allocate that $400,000 out to the different customers, because not all customers place their orders with customer service representatives, right? If you have an Amazon customer, online customers, they place their orders completely online. They don't take any of those resources that we're paying to have people sit there and take phone calls. So the way we're going to allocate those costs depends on the activity that each customer consumes. All right, so I've talked a lot there. The first part of the grading rubric says take this little customer activity matrix, I think it all fits on the screen there, and expand it. So tell me how much are the how big is the cost pool for the orders taken? That should be one column you have here. And so you're basically taking this, putting it into Excel and expanding it. You're going to add some columns. You're going to add one column for 2015 orders taken costs, and that would be, like we just discussed, the customer service costs, and the warehousing costs would be next to the warehouse packages shipped cost driver, and you can fill in the rest based on what you think they should be. Just make sure that your total costs that you account for here match the amount on both of those tables, tables 3 and 4. And then you're going to tell me, well, what's the allocation rate? That's the real goal of this first part here, is to take and say, okay, we've got this pool of about $500,000 of orders that we've taken. How much per order does it cost for me to, as the supplier of these customers, to generate one order? And so I have those costs of about $500,000, and I've taken, we'll say that we've come up with these quantities, 288,000 orders over 2015. So you divide that out, and that gives you the allocation rate. So pretty simple, actually, this first part of the second section of the case. So you would have a column for the allocation rate, and again, I tell you in the grading rubric to refer back to your textbook because it has a very good example of what that should look like. So that it's probably enough, I think, to get you going on this first part of the second section of the case to get through this part of the grading rubric. So good luck with that. I'll put out some more videos for the other parts.